Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Han Talks First. I'm your host Han, and today's episode is brought to you by you guys. I just wanted to do a simple fan Q&A, listener Q&A. I've picked a couple different questions from Instagram and TikTok and YouTube to see what you wanted to talk about in Star Wars. So that's what we're going to do today. Thanks for sending in your questions. I try to answer everybody in written form, and I think I'm going to start doing more of these types of podcast episodes because it gives us something else to talk about. This is going to be a shorter episode and I don't want to waste too much of your time, so let's dive right in.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Okay, starting off with our first question, it comes from Mark Sang. Will the next Star Wars film be released by Kathleen Kennedy or after she leaves? And I think the real question you're asking here, Mark, is when the hell are we getting a Star Wars movie again? And to be honest with you, I don't even know. I have no idea what they're doing right now. You really thought that they would have given us some kind of answer at D23 this weekend, but nothing came of that. So who knows? As far as if Kathleen Kennedy is going to be the one there when it is released, I think so. I think, to many people's disappointment, Kathleen Kennedy is going to be with Lucasfilm for a long time. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I am saying that it does concern me that it might not be for a very long time that we get a Star Wars film. They say 2023, but let's be honest. There's no way a movie's coming out in 2023. And someone else asked a question about that particular slot a little later, so I'll go into it more then. But I think Kathleen Kennedy has a really one of her goals is to get Star Wars on track again in the movies and have it established as a brand new idea, going towards a new generation, kind of reestablishing a storyline that can continue on and on even after she leaves. I am a little disappointed that, we haven't had a Star Wars movie in 4 years, which is fine, but what's frustrating is we haven't heard anything about movement of any of the properties. Yeah, we have Taika, Kevin Feige. There's been some talk of a writer, I can't remember his name, a big writer for like Pixar films, but nothing to the audience. I am glad that they're not pre-announcing these movies to get us all hyped for it and then later on to say it's been canceled, like Patty Jenkins. But I don't know. It's kind of weird to see Star Wars in a place where it has no plan and no direction for its film division. TV, they have tons of aspirations. Some of it's good, some of it's not good, but they're definitely putting a lot of investment in that right now. And I think Kathleen Kennedy's focus as far as theatrical movies right now is Indiana Jones 5, which has been being worked on for over 10 years, which is insane. But I think that's the next project for her. And then after that, she'll look for a title project to launch the next phase of Star Wars movies. The next question comes from James Rayner. They ask, would the sequels have been better if Snoke was actually Plagueis all along? It was Plagueis all along. Dun, 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 dun. So if you guys remember when The Force Awakens was coming out and they were doing their initial press tour, I think they were at Comic-Con for the first reveal of the footage and title and stuff like that. And someone in the audience asked J.J. Abrams if Snoke was Plagueis. And it was a very awkward response from the panel because everyone was looking at each other like, what do we say? What do we do? And then Daisy Ridley was starting to talk about it. And she was like, oh, Plagueis, is that... And then JJ cuts her off and he's like, Larry, do you want to answer that question? Larry being Lawrence Kasdan, the screenwriter. And Lawrence goes up and he's just like, Darth Vegas? Darth Plagueis? Who are you talking about? Come on. It's so obvious that they were at least thinking about that being an option for Snoke. Now, do I think it would have made the sequels better? No, because they didn't have a plan. Now, you could say that if Plagueis was Snoke the whole time, that is kind of a semblance of a plan, so maybe it would have worked. But I definitely think it shouldn't have been Palpatine again. It could have been a Palpatine contingency, but to be an extension of Palpatine's consciousness, that's a little weird, and that's where it lost a bunch of people. Or just have Snoke be his own thing. This unknown guy from the unknown regions who has a lot of power outside of this galaxy, comes in and takes over. That would be cool too. But do I think it would have been better if Snoke was Plagueis the whole time? Maybe. Maybe if they really thought out that plan on how that could work, it would make sense. But then again, it probably wouldn't, because Palpatine said he killed him a long time ago. Maybe he didn't die. So Plagueis is actually Palpatine in this situation, because instead of the dead speak and Palpatine rises, it'd be somehow Plagueis has returned. You see what I'm saying? So I guess not. As much as I wanted that to be the case back in 2015, I think Snoke should have just been Snoke. Hope that answered your question. Next up, Alex Torres. Why didn't they release the Ahsoka trailer at D23? Okay, I'm really glad that someone asked this question, because I thought it was a sure shot that they would release the Ahsoka footage at D23, at least privately to the people who attended. Now, I will say overall, Lucasfilm's presence at D23 was a little lackluster. I mean, it was all things we know about already. And they dropped the Mando trailer, but again, we saw that at Celebration, and it was leaked all over the place. So a lot of people had already seen it. But Ahsoka, I really thought they were going to make a big announcement that, hey, Ahsoka's coming next year. So it was a little weird to me, but I think the footage is still out there. It's leaked online if you want to check it out. It's great footage. Don't release a trailer. You don't have to do that, but at least give us something, some still images, some frames from the footage, or even some promo material. That'd be cool too. But the footage for Ahsoka is pretty great. And there's a shot at the end of the little sizzle reel they showed us, showing Sabine with Ezra, or maybe it was someone else, I can't remember, but they were standing in front of the mural that was painted at the end of Rebels. So Ahsoka is essentially Rebels Season 5, which a lot of fans like myself of Rebels are really hyped for. Next up is Kiki. Kiki 450M. Kiki 450M. Kiki. Cool. Okay, they say, I want to see Favreau and Filoni film. Do you think they could lead Star Wars better? Okay, I hear this a lot. A lot of people want to see a Jon Favreau Star Wars film, or a Dave Filoni Star Wars film. And do you think they could lead Star Wars better? So they kind of are leading Star Wars right now, at least in the television division. Because if at D23, for example, Jon Favreau was the one who introduced John Watts, who is show-running the Skeleton Crew series, and he's been kind of helping lead different shows along. I mean, he executive produced Book of Boba Fett, which was an original idea he had, gave it to Robert Rodriguez to flesh out and to ultimately publish on Disney+, but I wasn't a big fan of Boba Fett. Maybe some of you were. There's also, we were supposed to get an announcement of Boba Fett Season 2 at D23, which is what I heard, and I don't know why they didn't say that. So would I want to see them together make a film of Star Wars? Yes and no. Jon Favreau is a great filmmaker. I would love to see him take on a Star Wars movie and direct it. Maybe have Dave Filoni come in and write it, but Filoni himself being a director for the cinema, I don't think he's there yet. I think he can be that person one day, but right now it seems a little too ambitious, considering he just started getting into live action directing, and you see him progressing and getting better, but to take on a whole movie right now, I think it's a little premature. But hey, Favreau directing a Star Wars film, I'm all about it. Next up is from user 55222789333. That is a mouthful. This is from TikTok, so obviously that must have been the handle that they assigned you when you signed up. They say, I've never understood the thing about the original trilogy, why Ben and Yoda always say that Jedi use Force for defense, never to attack. But then Yoda says he can't be a Jedi until he destroys Vader, and Ben says that if Luke can't kill his father, the Emperor has already won. Okay, I totally understand what you're saying here. So this is actually a question that I have often thought about too, and it's something that I found an interview from George Lucas speaking about. So generally what you're asking is, how come Yoda, Ben, Qui-Gon, anyone from the Jedi Temple days, they all say that we never use our force or our weapons for attack purposes, yet only in defense. And then in the original trilogy, Luke and Obi-Wan and Yoda tell Luke he has to kill his father. So the response that George Lucas gave to this similar question was that, yes, Jedi never use their weapons for attacking, only for self-defense. But it's not until political aspects moved aside, evil becomes too grandiose, and they have to take action. Now, to me, that kind of sounds like an answer you would give just to kind of avoid an actual response, because maybe he didn't think all the way through on that, but it makes a little bit of sense. And where this gets even more tricky is in the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. At the end of it, he decides to let Anakin go. And what I'm really confused about is what happens after that finale of Obi-Wan to the point of A New Hope, where Obi-Wan Kenobi has a completely change in personality, and he thinks that, okay, he has to die now. Now he has to be killed. So something else happens in his character arc during those absent periods of screen time that we need to know what made him change. And I thought that's what the Obi-Wan show was going to give us, but it didn't. So there's still a lot of blank pages to fill in the answer that you probably want and the one that I want as well. But right now, we just got to go off what George says. Next up, Bruce Nation says, what do you think Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie will be about, and when will it come out? Okay, so Kevin Feige, as we all know, head of Marvel, he has been doing a lot of projects recently for the MCU. Movies, TV shows, they have like something like 15 projects coming out next year, 15 titles. That's insane. So he's obviously going to be with Marvel up until 2025, at least for right now, because that is all that they've slated to the public. They're ending with Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret War, I think is what it is. So I think he's going to want to stay involved up until that point. Now, something interesting about the MCU is they haven't announced that they're going to do mutants yet, or the X-Men. And I'm wondering, does Kevin Feige want to be a part of the X-Men movies or their story going forward? Probably, because he has a unique connection to that, and that leads into how his first movie, I think, was X-Men, and he was the associate producer on all the X-Men films. So I think he'd want to be a part of that. And how this ties in to his Star Wars film, I'm wondering when he's going to have time to do that. And if it's not until 2025, 2026 that he finally does everything he wants to do with Marvel, then he'll have a chance to pick up a Star Wars film. And we do know he has a writer, Michael Waldron, who penned the script for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and for Loki Season 1, he's writing the Star Wars script. And he was actually asked about this at Comic-Con this year, asking, hey, what do you got so far? And he pretty much said, I can't share anything, but it's a brand new story with brand new characters and a brand new mythology. I think that's a great start. Now, Taika Waititi has been saying the same thing, but what do we take from this? When will it actually come out? Well, if you look at the track record of previous movies Kevin Feige has executive produced, they are usually in development for about 4 years, 3 to 4 years. They get penned, they get casted, pre-development, pre-production, and then they start shooting. And within a shooting date, they usually come out within a year. So I would say if we're just now in the writing stages, the early writing stages, we can expect 4 years from now to have a Kevin Feige film. I know that sounds a little far away, but it kind of lines up with what his plans are with Marvels right now. So what would that make it? 3, 4, 5, 6, 2026? That's my guess. Next up is Gon's Lulu 55. What book would you like to see adapted to screen? I want Heir to the Empire or Bane. First of all, both of those are great trilogies. Actually, the Bane series might just be 2 books. I don't know. I only read the first one. But Heir to the Empire is also a fantastic one. I don't think they could do Heir to the Empire right now because it would totally retcon their sequel trilogy, which is kind of a shame. But we've been seeing they've been taking ideas from it, like Thrawn. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get the Calamari, too, featured in the Ahsoka series. But Heir to the Empire is a great read. As far as what I would want to see, probably a Darth Plagueis adaptation. I think that would be really, really cool. Granted, it's one of my favorite books, so I'm a little biased. But the Darth Plagueis novel is a really great read, and it can kind of tie in with the before prequel era, so we can make it connect to the Acolyte, which is going to be coming out soon, and we can cast a younger Sheev Palpatine, which fans love to fan cast for, like Tom Hiddleston and Matt, the guy from Game of Thrones and Morbius, can't remember his name, but they love fan casting for him. I think people would want to see that because it ties directly in with the Skywalker saga, and it's also an original idea, and people love the book. Next up is Sam Art 94. Says, Rian Johnson says that his movie is still happening. Do you think it is? Yeah, Rian Johnson came out like 2 weeks ago, and he said that he's still talking with Kathleen Kennedy, and he said it would really hurt him if he didn't get the chance to make his Star Wars film after The Last Jedi. Okay, do I believe him and Kathleen Kennedy are still talking? Yes. Do I believe he still wants to make a Star Wars film? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think there is a possibility that Rian Johnson could come back to Star Wars, but not in a film format. I mean, just think back to 2017 after The Last Jedi came out and how much divisiveness it caused and frustration among the fan community. It actually kind of started this whole movement of toxic fandom into other things like Lord of the Rings and DC and tons of other stuff. I personally do not like The Last Jedi. I like it less every time I think about it or try to watch it. I think it's just a bad idea in principle for them to want to do this, at least right now. Considering where Star Wars films are at, they really need a film to come back, first of all, and they need it to be really strong and original. And I think if you attach a name like Rian Johnson to that next title film, yeah, it would get some people excited, but you would just be bringing in all this recycled hate that was left over from The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. It could be a great film. I'm not going to lie and say it's going to be bad, but I think just by having his name on it, it's going to cause some problems that I don't think Lucasfilm can afford right now. Now, how I think he could come in and direct something Star Wars, I think it could be TV. I think you could definitely see him come in for an episode of Book of Boba Fett Season 2 and direct an episode. I mean, his background is in television. He's directed a lot of television and a lot of critically acclaimed episodes that he has directed. So I think that's a definite possibility. But as far as a film, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And if it does happen, it would be after we already have at least 2 more Star Wars films in the theater. So we're talking like 10 years away. Next up is Thomas Roy. When will Lucasfilm start talking about episode 10, 11, and 12? Okay, this might sound a little bit early to start having these conversations, but I think they're actually conversations Lucasfilm is having right now. I mean, how could you not do episode 10, 11, and 12? Continuing on the legacy of the Skywalker saga. It doesn't have to be about Skywalkers, of course, but there's a reason that they only left the opening scroll or the crawl and the main Star Wars theme for the saga films. I think they plan on bringing it back someday. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be maybe 5 years away. I think they're probably going to wait for a good time for the cast like Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and what is his name? Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac. I think they're going to wait for, 1, a moment that they're ready to come back, and 2, years from now so that they can help introduce a younger cast to come in and play a little bit better of a legacy character returning than we did with the original 3, Leia, Solo, and Skywalker. Because how cool would it have been if we had all 3 of them on screen at the same time? I know everyone says that, but that's something they got to consider when talking about 10, 11, and 12 in the future. Okay, our last question we're going to take for today is from Chris. Why haven't we heard anything about Taika's 2023 movie? So again, we talked about this earlier on the show. They've said that the next film coming out is in 2023. I think it's impossible. I mean, we've heard nothing about it, no casting rumors. For them to come out with a movie in 2023, it would catch literally everybody by surprise. I mean, there's people out there whose job it is to scoop this information, to spy on sets, to talk to crew or producers on board and like really hunt for the details and the latest scoops. And there's literally nothing. there is a 2023 spot open for something that we don't know about. It could be a TV movie, something really low budget, something maybe an animation. I could see that being a possibility. But a live action film? I really don't think so. Because at this point, you would have had to already market it and start telling people what it's about. And they would have also had to have finished shooting already. For it to come out in 2023, say December, they would have to been done shooting by like months ago, in the summertime at least. Because it takes over a year to get all those VFX done. And there's a massive backlog of VFX in the industry right now because they're all overworked. So, and again, I don't think it's Taika's film because the woman who is writing the script, Jennifer or something, she hasn't even really finished the script yet. 3-4 months ago, they said that it's only in the first page and it only had exterior space. That was it. So I seriously doubt it's going to be Taika's film. I do think Taika is still working on a movie, but we got to remember this guy is also extremely busy. Not only did he have Thor come out this year, but he had some other movie come out this year, some kind of soccer film. I didn't watch it. I don't even know where to watch it. And he's got tons of other projects lined up in the future right now. So the guy's really busy. Plus he has those TV shows on HBO. Who knows when we'll see this? There was a lot of speculation that it could be Kevin Feige's film that they were working on together, but I don't know about that. One thing I don't want to hear months from now, weeks from now, is that Kathleen Kennedy and Taika Waititi have had creative differences. Unfortunately, I think it's a really big possibility because that's the track record right now with Star Wars movies and their directors. Thank you guys so much for sending in your questions. I really appreciate it. If you have any more, you can leave a comment in the video, or you can reach out to me on Instagram or in any of my TikToks. And you can find the podcast anywhere podcasts are found: Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, etc. Go check it out because there's other great episodes too. Like the video, subscribe, you don't want to miss anything, and come back really soon. And until then, somehow, some way, somewhere this week, may the Force be with you.